Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome to my book corner, and today we have the last tag video for the year and the last one for a while as I take a hiatus from BookTube. First off, I want to thank Nicole once again over at Nicole's Bookish Nook for tagging me in this one. This is my top 20 favourite book covers tag. Now, this was originally created, and I use inverted commas for that one deliberately, by Grammaticus Books. This didn't originally start out as a tag, but it's kind of turned into one over time. So this is specifically for fiction books, and this is ones that I have physical editions of. Interestingly enough, there's only going to be one special edition in here as well, which is interesting to me. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the books themselves because we do not need an hour-long video for this one. But let's start off with indie book, Duckett and Dyer, Dicks for Hire by G.M. Nair. First of all, I love the colours, and all the books in the series have a similar sort of visual style. There's just so much going on, and I love the fact it looks almost comic book-esque with the panels on the cover. So that's the first one. Next up, one of my favourite books of the year that I read, and also a very banned book, that is Flamer by Mike Curato. This is a graphic novel, very, very banned and challenged in the US. Absolutely love this one. And it's such a striking cover because of the image on the front, and it very much conveys the idea of our main character in this going through hellfire, basically, in their own life and all the stuff that they're dealing with as a young man, kind of coming into themselves. So that's Flamer by Mike Curato. Sticking to the graphic novel / comic book theme, I'm a massive Transformers nerd. Always have been. And we do have an ongoing series at the moment of the Energon universe. And this is issue 1, Optimus Prime. Very, very close to sort of the original sort of art style. This is Daniel Warren Johnson and Mark Spicer who started off the series. I know the artists have changed throughout. I know some of the covers later on I actually prefer, but this is the only one that I've got at the moment. Just nostalgia kick, like proper nostalgia kick with that one. Going in a completely different direction then. I haven't got book 2 as a physical yet for this one, which would probably be slightly higher up, but it is The Fall Is All There Is by C.M. Kaplan, another indie book. Why are we losing focus, computer? This is the redesigned cover. I did like the original cover, but I just like the sort of the level of grime on here. You kind of get the idea of this almost gear punk aesthetic in there. You have the sword, which does have an important role to play. Amazing book. Really like the cover redesigns. The cover for book 2 is phenomenal. It's got more purple hues. I actually prefer book 2's cover. I've just not got the physical version of that yet. Next up, this was a gift from my good friend Noah over at the Bookworm, who will be tagged in this video anyway, and that is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. All I know is that this is a queer horror, but I love the fact you've got the plants sort of interspersing with the face. I like the bright oranges and the contrast that that gives with the almost washed out colours and the blacks at the back. So that's that one. Staying on that, like, visually interesting books, and another one that I've not read yet is Angels Before Man. So this is by Raphael Nicolas. I believe this is a queer retelling of the fall of Lucifer. I think there's more than one book in this series. Don't know why I've not gotten to this yet, but I absolutely love how arty that feels. These are the sort of books that make me just pick books up. So, but then I sometimes go the other way, and I like something a little bit more simply stylized. So, interestingly enough, we have Mistborn, The Final Empire, book 1. Now, obviously, they've been rebranded over the years. Something about this visual style, Trudy Canavan's books were very similar as well back in the day. There's just a level of simplicity to it that I just really, really appreciate. I also like the fact that it's actually got its own title rather than Mistborn one. Up next, we have a novella, which I've unfortunately managed to damage the dust jacket, but never mind. The Butcher of the Forest by Premi Mohammed. This is a folklore-esque dark fairy tale. And you really do get that sense off the cover there with the haunted woods behind and the sort of the animals that you would normally be cute and cuddly, like the unicorn, but slightly disfigured and monstrous. And it gets even worse the closer you look. I don't know if it'll show like the rib cage on the unicorn and stuff. And you also have the shiny apples. There is a level of guilt on this one. So, and speaking of shiny covers, a book that I feel needs a lot more attention in the world, Hyo the Hellmaker by Mina Ikamoto Ghosh. That is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I do wish this had sprayed edges, actually. It does wrap around to the back as well. This book deserves a lot more attention than it's had. I love the style of the art. It actually is reciprocated through the book itself as well, as art is used at multiple points within the book for various different things. So if I just open that up as an example. It is an actual book, but it uses the art as extra context at times. Absolutely love it. But sometimes you just want something a bit bold and in your face. And I've spoken about this book cover before, relatively recently actually. Board Gay Werewolf. This is such a simple cover that just grabs the eye. There is something about lime green on a black background. You know, that's all I'm going to say about that. Great book. Book 2's good as well. Well worth checking out, but I prefer this version. I know the paperback version is has the lime green on the background rather than the black. I think this one looks far better, but yeah. Oh, my pile's going to fall over. Please don't do that. Okay. Next up is another hardback. Now, there is a publisher in the US called Peachtree Publishing who mainly focus on kids and YA books. And they knock the covers out the park so often. This is Death's Country by R.M. Romero. This is a retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice. I can never remember the names. It's also written in poetry, which I didn't realise when I bought it. And I actually listened to the audiobook of it as well. I've not actually physically read it, which, of course I didn't. Why wouldn't I buy 2 copies of the same book? I love purples on a book cover. I love how this is using quite a typical colour design on it. I just think this is a beautiful looking cover. Next, I've just realised we've got 2 Sanderson books in here. Let's do this. I believe this is a bit of a controversial cover because a lot of people don't like it, but I absolutely love it because of the art style. That's Yuri and the Nightmare Painter, the paperback edition. I really like stylized character design like this on covers. I don't like normal character design. This, however, especially with the extra colours sort of thrown in to go with the fact that you've got the Nightmare Painter. Yeah, I bought this just because of the cover. I've not read it yet. I've read very little of Sanderson actually, but there we go. Okay. Something a little bit more traditional then. I'm a massive D&D fan. And that was largely because of reading the R.A. Salvatore books from when I was a kid. One great example of that is The Lone Drow, which is book 2 in the Hunter's Blade trilogy. And this just works as you've got this lonely, bedraggled character dragging themselves through the frozen north. I presume this is set somewhere around Icewind Dale. I can't remember. It's been 25 years since I read this. But it just catches how alone our main character of Drizzt Do'Urden is in this scene. And yeah, I mean, it was between this one and 2 Swords, which is another book in the series. I think this works better for me simply because of how bleak the surroundings are and how washed out everything is and how kind of broken that Drizzt looks. But there we go, that's that one. A book that I didn't even look at the title of when I bought it. I then realised I'd been talking about it with Elaine over at Cobalt Dragon. And then it turned out Noah had bought the same book as well for the same reason. The reprint of Blackwater, specifically The Flood. Now, I have read this one. It's really hard not to get the shine on this. All the reprints are absolutely stunning, like front and back. Absolutely beautiful. I didn't even look at the title of this. I didn't know what I'd bought. I saw it. I bought it. End of story. I am a simple soul sometimes. Bouncing back to more stylized cover, and this is a really simple one, but it just works because of all the different elements that are on there, and that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. The more you look at this cover, the more little details you see. For example, the fact that the wording of Nettle and Bone is actually made up partially of bones themselves. Various different aspects as well around that link to the sort of fairy tale / godmother-esque nature of the story. Yes. All the yes. Speaking of all the yes, I didn't have a great time with this author first time I read them, but the art style on this just made me buy the book, and I still have book 2 to read on my shelf, and that is Taran Matharu's Dragon Rider. I love the almost hand-drawn effect of this. Book 2 is actually more purple-hued, interestingly enough, which normally I would prefer, but this one I absolutely love. This is so much better than the US cover as well. The US cover is very generic. That, I'd almost believe this was going to be an encyclopedia of dragons just because of the style of drawing on that. So, artwork, I should say, not drawing. Speaking of stylized again, though, I couldn't not mention a Terry Pratchett book in here. So many to choose from. I have actually gone with possibly my favourite Pratchett book. Not necessarily his best, but certainly my favourite, and that is Reaper Man. Second Pratchett book I ever read. There's just something about a giant skeleton with a scythe who is obviously death. In farm clothes because he's on retirement. Just patting a little kid's head with the angry mob and the future in the background with the combine harvester there. Little Death of Rats as well, just sat on his knee. One of my favourite Discworld books, certainly one of the most emotional for me. This really does encapsulate Kirby's artwork. So, and then there were 3. So this one's come up in a video recently. Although I'm not sure if I prefer this or... No, I do prefer this one. Sunbearer Trials, Aidan Thomas. I love the way the sort of gold foiling is used in this. It just catches so well. You've got this almost look of innocence on our main character of Teal's face. But this is just a gorgeous cover. The cover for number 2 is gorgeous as well, actually. And it kind of catches that look of youthful innocence. You've got the gold edging throughout. Yeah. One of the first books I reviewed on BookTube, this one. And still one of my favourites. It's due a reread, actually. The next 2 are both Andrew Joseph White books. One is a special edition, one is not. So the first one is my favourite Andrew Joseph White book, Hell Followed With Us. This was entirely a cover buy. I love the fact that you have the sort of dystopian, blown out world underneath. You have the religious themes with like the seraphim wings. You have the main character whose heart's got almost this corruption bleeding out of it. You've got the chains with people being chained to their destiny on there. This is possibly my favourite cover on a book that I own. I have 2 copies of this. I've got this one, and I've got the one that Luna bought me over at Cottage Goth Library. This just doesn't reflect the light as much on the ring light, but this does have little bits of copper foiling as well on the eyes, so it does catch that light as well. This is just a stunning, stunning book, and the special editions are amazing as well. The final one is a special edition that, again, this is Luna's fault, because I didn't know this was a thing and Luna shared it in Discord, and then I went and bought it. And this is Andrew Joseph White's latest book, and that is You Weren't Meant to Be Human. Now, this is going to be very shiny on the thing. This is a very, very shiny cover. But if you take the cover away and go onto the internal art, this is going to be even shinier. You see the sort of the horror of what this is that wraps around. This book, I don't know what it is about the cover for this that really talks to me. I think the demonic look of our main character is part of it, especially like on the front cover where they look like something possessed. And obviously this has a Roe versus Wade link to it as well. This is a very disturbing horror book. My second favourite Andrew Joseph White book as well. Only picked this one up recently, has sprayed edges as well. And it has the quote on the back that our main character was given by basically the parasitic worm monsters that are kind of the antagonists of the story. But it just works. It gives it this almost vampiric feel, I suppose is the best way, because just glancing at that I would assume vampire, and it's shiny. I don't know what it is about a shiny book cover, but that one really talks to me. We did that in one take. This is unusual. So that is my 20 favourite-ish book covers for the physical versions of books that I've got. What I would like to know is, what is your favourite book cover that you own? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and to everyone who's watched the channel this year. Hope you have a great new year, and hopefully I will catch some of you around soon.